I'm Tiffany, 34, and for 22 years I believed that if I just achieved enough, worked hard enough, my family would finally see me, truly see me. That was the lie I lived. Then, 3 weeks ago, standing in my parents' kitchen, the smell of garlic bread still lingering, my mother looked me in the eye and said, "Jocelyn says she gets sick every time she sees your face. I need you to pack your things tonight." That casual sentence, delivered like a grocery list, shattered everything I thought I knew. Did I just discover my entire life was a performance? Yes. Credit card statements full of fraudulent charges, a hidden email chain, and a whispered conversation I wasn't meant to hear, all of it unraveling in just 7 days that rewrote decades. And my mother? She was still fussing over seating arrangements for an anniversary party, completely oblivious to the earthquake she'd just set in motion. Before I do, take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if this story earns it. Drop your city and your local time in the comments. I like knowing who's out there. Now, let me take you back to a Thursday evening in April, the night my mother chose my sister over me for the last time. I'm standing at my parents' kitchen sink, warm water running over a casserole dish. Thursday dinner, the same routine I've kept every other week since I moved out 6 years ago. The house smells like garlic bread and lemon cleaner. The TV is on low in the living room. Everything is normal. Everything is fine. Except Jocelyn has been in my mother's bedroom with the door shut for over an hour. I can hear the murmur of her voice through the wall, rising, falling, rising again. My mother's voice is lower, soothing. The kind of tone she uses when she's absorbing someone else's crisis like a sponge. I rinse the last dish, dry my hands on a striped towel, set it on the counter, fold it in thirds. Force of habit. That's when the bedroom door opens. My mother walks out first. Her face is set, not angry, decided. There's a difference. Angry leaves room for argument. Decided does not. Your sister says she gets sick every time she sees your face. She says it flat, like reading a prescription label. I need you to pack your things tonight. I look past her down the hall. My father is standing near the coat closet, one hand on the door frame. His eyes are on the floor. Did you ask what actually happened between us? I say. I don't need to. My mother's chin lifts. I can see what it does to her. I fold the towel once more, place it on the counter, walk upstairs. My old bedroom, the one I gave up at 12 so Jocelyn could have her own space, still has a shelf with my college textbooks. I pull the gray duffel from the closet, pack it in under 4 minutes. My father is still by the coat closet when I come down. I walk past him without stopping. He's had 34 years to say something. Tonight isn't going to be the night. 3 days before the duffel bag. That's where this really starts. I'm sitting at my parents' dining table with my laptop open, helping my dad reconcile a bank statement, something I do once a month, because numbers make him nervous. That's when I see it. A credit card charge, then another, then 14 more. $4,200 spread across 3 weeks, all on my parents' joint card. The merchant names are a mix of boutique clothing sites, a luxury skincare subscription, and a handbag reseller. Not a single business expense. Jocelyn told our parents she needed the card for startup inventory, her online boutique, the third business idea in 2 years. I don't bring it up to start a fight. I bring it up because my father is 64 and retired on a fixed income, and $4,200 is not nothing. Jocelyn, I say at dinner that night, keeping my voice level, these charges don't match any wholesale supplier I can find. She doesn't blink. You went through my purchases? Dad asked me to reconcile the statement. They're right there. Her fork goes down. Her eyes go wet. Not slowly like a switch. You always do this. You always have to make me look bad. I'm not making you look like anything. The receipts are I can't do this. She pushes back from the table. Her chair scrapes the floor. You have no idea how hard I'm trying and all you do is judge. She's up. She's down the hall. The bedroom door shuts and then my mother is standing, her napkin crumpling in her fist, staring at me like I just set the table on fire. She didn't yell back. She didn't need to. Jocelyn's weapon was never volume. It was tears. I need you to understand something. That night wasn't an earthquake. It was just the latest tremor in a pattern that started when I was 12 years old. That was the year my mother told me to move my things to the basement. Jocelyn was 8 and needed her own room to develop her creativity. I didn't argue. I carried my bed sheets down 2 flights of stairs and made a corner of the basement work. My dad stood in the doorway that night. He raised his hand like he was going to knock on the wall, maybe say something. Then he turned around and went back upstairs. When I was 22, I graduated summa laude from Virginia Tech project management major, double minor in data analytics and organizational communication. My parents came to the ceremony. They sat in the back. They stayed 10 minutes after the processional, then left because Jocelyn wasn't feeling well. I found out later she had a headache. At 28, I got promoted to senior project manager at Lockwell Infrastructure, the youngest in the company's history. I called my mom from the parking lot still shaking. She said, "That's great, honey. Listen, your sister just got yelled at by her boss and she's really upset. Can I call you back?" She never called back. Every milestone shrank the moment it entered that house. Every achievement got filed behind whatever crisis Jocelyn was performing that week. I kept performing because I believed that one day, if I achieved enough, they would finally see me. That was the lie I told myself for 22 years. I wasn't angry the night I packed that bag. I was exhausted. There's a difference. Anger still expects things to change. Exhaustion has stopped asking. Let me tell you about my sister. Not the version you'd hear at Thanksgiving. The version that took me 3 decades to see clearly. Jocelyn is 30 years old. She's smart, genuinely smart. She reads a room faster than anyone I've ever met. She knows exactly when to lower her voice, when to let her eyes fill, when to press her lips together like she's fighting tears she's too brave to release. She doesn't plan it the way a con artist plans a grift. It's more instinctive than that. It's the only tool she's ever needed because it's the only tool our family ever rewarded. When her online boutique went under last year, $12,000 of our parents' money gone, she didn't say, "I failed." She said, "I'm scared that Tiffany was right about me, and that thought makes me want to disappear." My mother heard disappear and stopped hearing everything else. Within 20 minutes, Mom was on the phone with me. "Do you see what your criticism does to her? She's fragile, Tiffany. She's not like you." That phrase, "she's not like you," was the leash they kept me on for years. It meant, you're strong so you absorb the damage. She's weak so she gets the shield. But here's the thing about someone who never faces consequences. They never build the muscle to survive them. Jocelyn isn't fragile because she was born that way. She's fragile because every time she started to crack, someone rushed in to glue her back together before she could learn to do it herself. And as long as I stayed in this family's orbit, she always had someone to perform against. My competence was the backdrop that made her helplessness convincing. My mother retired from teaching 3 years ago. 31 years at Maple Ridge Elementary. Employee of the Year twice. She loved that job. Not just the kids but the structure. The morning bell, the lesson plan, the lineup of small faces that needed her. When that ended, she came home to a quiet house and a husband who was already deep into his own retirement of fishing and cable news. She needed someone to need her. Jocelyn volunteered without knowing it. Every crisis Jocelyn manufactured, the failed business, the boyfriend who left, the apartment she couldn't afford, gave my mother a classroom again. Someone to organize, someone to rescue, someone who proved that Linda Hale was still essential. I was the opposite problem. I paid my own rent at 22. I managed multi-million-dollar infrastructure timelines by 26. I didn't call home crying. I called home to share good news, and good news didn't give my mother anything to fix. So, she built a system, unspoken rules that kept the household stable and her role secure. Rule 1. Never question Jocelyn's choices. Rule 2. Never bring up money. Rule 3. If there's tension, it's Tiffany who adjusts. Because Tiffany can handle it. Because Tiffany is strong. I used to wear that label like a badge. Strong, reliable. The one who doesn't crack. I didn't realize until much later that strong was just the word my family used for expendable. My mother didn't kick me out that Thursday because she believed Jocelyn was sick. She kicked me out because I was the only threat to an architecture she'd spent 3 years building. And the anniversary party she'd been planning for 6 months, the one that needed the whole family smiling for 60 guests, was 3 weeks away. My father is a good man. I need to say that first because the rest of this will make it sound like he isn't. Gary Hale spent 40 years fixing other people's pipes. He could diagnose a leaking valve in the dark and have it repaired before breakfast. He sold his plumbing business at 62, paid off the house, and settled into a retirement of bass fishing and Weather Channel reruns. But in his own home, he never fixed a thing that mattered. His entire strategy for family conflict was a single sentence: "Don't upset your mother." He said it the year I moved to the basement. He said it the year my graduation got cut short. He said it every time I came to him with something that hurt, something that was unfair, something that needed a father's voice. Don't upset your mother. As if her comfort was the load-bearing wall, and everything else, my feelings, my dignity, my place in this family, was furniture you could rearrange. I remember one night when I was 14, Jocelyn had blamed me for breaking a ceramic bowl she'd knocked off the counter herself. My mother grounded me for a week. That evening, my dad came down to the basement. He stood outside my door. I heard him breathing. I watched the shadow of his shoes shift under the gap. He raised his hand. I could hear his knuckles brush the wood. Then the shadow moved, and he walked away. He loved me. I know that, but love without action is just a feeling you keep to yourself. And my father kept it to himself for 34 years. Still, somewhere deep in the foundation of that quiet man, something was about to shift. I just didn't know it yet. The duffel weighs 11 pounds. I know because the strap digs into my shoulder the same way it did move-in day at Virginia Tech, the one trip my parents actually showed up for on time. I set my parents' house key on the kitchen counter, right next to the folded towel. I don't slam the door. I close it the way you close a chapter you've reread too many times. My car starts on the first turn. I pull out of the driveway, past the mailbox my dad repainted every spring, past the oak tree Jocelyn and I used to climb before climbing together stopped being something we did. 40 minutes en route to 29, no radio, no phone call, just the hum of tires and the sound of my own breathing, which is steadier than I expected. Marcus is standing in our kitchen when I come through the door. He sees the duffel before he sees my face. He doesn't ask what happened. He reads me the way he reads a deposition, looking for what's missing, not what's there. "I'll make coffee," he says. I sit at our kitchen table. My hands settle on the surface, and for a second, my right hand drifts to my stomach. 10 weeks. A life I hadn't told anyone about except the man pouring decaf at the counter. I was 10 weeks pregnant. And sitting in that kitchen, staring at the duffel bag on the floor, I made a decision that had nothing to do with my parents or my sister. My child would never grow up wondering if they were enough. I reached over and turned off my phone. The screen went black. For 7 days, I disappeared. Here's what I didn't know the night I left. The party was already falling apart without me. 2 weeks before the blow-up, Jocelyn had volunteered to organize my parents' 40th wedding anniversary celebration. She announced it at Sunday brunch like she was accepting an award. "I want to do this for you guys. Let me handle everything." My mother beamed. My father nodded. Nobody mentioned that every event Jocelyn had ever handled, a baby shower for our cousin, a neighborhood block party, a 4th of July cookout, had ended with someone else finishing the work, usually me. But this time, the guest list was 63 people, a rented private dining room at Bellani's, the Italian place on Main Street. Printed invitations, a slideshow, a catering deposit, real logistics. Jocelyn had pitched the party right after her boutique folded. I see that now. It was a play. Proof she could still deliver something. Proof she was still the daughter who showed up. A week before the credit card fight, my Aunt Ruth called me out of the blue. Ruth is my mother's younger sister, a community nurse, quiet, observant. We'd never been close, mostly because my mother kept distance between us. "Tiffany," she said, "I want you to know something. Your mother is doing to you exactly what our mother did to me." I didn't understand what she meant, not yet. 3 days later, I was standing at a kitchen sink, and my world tipped sideways. But Ruth's words stayed with me. And Marcus said something that same week that I keep circling back to. You've been keeping a timeline in your head your whole life. Maybe it's time to write it down. I didn't know it then, but that timeline would become the most important project I'd ever manage. If you've ever sat at a family dinner and felt like you were performing a role nobody wrote for you, I see you. I've been there.
Drop a comment and tell me.
Have you ever been the invisible one in your family? I read every single comment. And if this story is hitting close to home, hit that subscribe button. Because what happens in the next 7 days changed everything for me. Day 1. I wake up at 6 o'clock like always. Shower, coffee, drive to the office. Sit through a 90-minute stakeholder meeting about a highway overpass in Henrico County. Nobody at work knows my mother kicked me out of her house 12 hours ago. Nobody notices anything different. That's the thing about being trained to absorb. You get very good at looking normal, while something inside you is rearranging. Day 2. No call. No text. I check my phone once in the morning, once at lunch, once before bed. Nothing. The silence doesn't surprise me. I know what they're waiting for. They're waiting for the pattern to complete. The part where I call first, apologize for making it worse, and offer to smooth things over so everyone can pretend it never happened. I don't call. Day 3.
Still nothing.
Marcus watches me from across the breakfast table. He's not a hovering man. 16 years of litigation taught him when to speak and when to let the record develop. Do you want me to call them? He asks.
No.
I want to see how long it takes. That night, after Marcus goes to bed, I sit at the kitchen table with my laptop. I open a blank spreadsheet, the same template I use for project risk assessments. Columns. Date, event, who said what, result. I start typing. Not to build a case, not to prepare for a fight. I just need to see it laid out clean, linear, the way I see everything else in my professional life. 3 days, not a single call, not even from my father. That silence told me more than 34 years of conversations ever did.
They weren't worried about me.
They were waiting for me to come back and play my part. Day 4. My phone buzzes at 11:47 a.m. Dad. For a moment, I almost let it ring. But something in me, that 12-year-old girl watching the shadow of her father's shoes shift under the door, still answers when he calls. Hey, Tiff. His voice is careful. The voice he uses when he's measuring twice before cutting. Hey, Dad.
Pause.
I can hear the TV in the background. Some game show. The dishwasher running. Normal sounds from a house that expelled me 4 days ago. So, your mother's been upset. The anniversary party is in 3 weeks, and we need to figure out the seating chart. I let 10 seconds pass. I count them. Is that why you're calling, Dad? He clears his throat. I'm calling because we need to talk about this.
You had a chance to talk about it.
You watched Mom tell me to pack my bags, and you said nothing. That's not fair, Tiff.
Exactly.
I hang up. Marcus is in the doorway of my office. He heard the whole thing. He doesn't ask what happened. He just leans against the frame and waits. He called about the seating chart, I say. Marcus exhales through his nose. Not a laugh. Something closer to confirmation. My mother kicked me out of her house because my sister said my face makes her sick, and my father called 4 days later to talk about where people sit at dinner. I close my laptop, place both hands flat on the desk. The spreadsheet is still open behind the dark screen. 6 entries so far. Dates, names, consequences. I'm not coming back to make their anniversary comfortable. I'm done being the padding between this family's furniture. Marcus nods once. That's all I need. Day 6. 2 missed calls from Mom. 1 voicemail. I don't listen to it right away. I let it sit on my phone like an unopened bill. You know it's there. You know what it probably says, and you know it won't say what you actually need to hear. Marcus is the one who accidentally plays it. He picks up my phone thinking it's his. Same case. Same ringtone. And the voicemail starts before he can stop it. He holds it out to me, eyebrows raised. I press play. Tiffany, this has gone on long enough. My mother's voice is clipped, efficient, classroom voice. Your father, and I want you at the anniversary. Jocelyn is willing to put this behind her. We all need to move forward as a family. That's it. 43 seconds. I listen to it twice. Not because I missed something, but because I want to be sure I'm hearing what I think I'm hearing. Notice the framing. I say to Marcus, I'm in project mode now. The same part of my brain that catches scope creep in a contractor's email is dissecting every word. Jocelyn is willing. Not we're sorry. Not we were wrong. Jocelyn is willing to forgive me for something I didn't do. Marcus tilts his head. That's not an apology. That's a job offer. Show up, perform, keep quiet. And the deadline is the anniversary. I save the voicemail, not as evidence, as a reminder. The next time I start doubting myself, the next time that old habit of absorbing kicks in, I want to remember exactly how my mother sounded when she chose choreography over honesty.
She didn't call to check on me.
She called to manage me. And for the first time in my life, I could hear the difference. Day 7. The text comes at 9:14 p.m. I'm on the couch with a mug of chamomile, feet tucked under a blanket, reading a project brief on my tablet. Marcus is in the study reviewing depositions. My phone lights up. Jocelyn. It's long. 4 paragraphs. I read it once, then read it again with the part of my brain that reviews stakeholder communications for hidden agenda. Tiff, I know you're hurting. I'm hurting too. This whole thing has been so hard on all of us. Mom and Dad are devastated. I hate that our family is going through this right now, especially with the party coming up. Can we please just be sisters again? I miss you. I really do. The party won't feel right without you there. Mom puts so much work into it, and it would mean everything to her. Can we just move past this for them? 4 paragraphs, 3 mentions of the party, 0 mentions of what she actually said about me, 0 acknowledgement that her words got me removed from my parents' home. She doesn't apologize because in her version of events, she's not the one who did anything wrong. She reframes the entire conflict as something that happened to both of us equally. This whole thing has been so hard on all of us. As if she didn't strike the match. I screenshot the text, add it to the spreadsheet, row 14. Jocelyn wasn't reaching out to mend a relationship. She was casting a role. She needed me back in position so the anniversary could go on as planned. The full family portrait, everyone smiling, no empty chairs to explain. I don't reply. But that night, after Marcus falls asleep, I pick up my phone and call someone I should have called years ago. Aunt Ruth. Aunt Ruth picks up on the second ring. Her voice is calm, like she's been sitting by the phone waiting for this exact call. I was wondering when you'd reach out, she says. Ruth is 58, a community nurse in Charlottesville, the kind of woman who takes your blood pressure while telling you a story about her garden. Steady hands, warm tone, nothing wasted. Ruth, I need to ask you something. What did you mean when you said Mom is doing to me what your mother did to you? She doesn't hesitate. Your grandmother had 2 daughters, Linda and me. Linda was the one who got the new shoes, the first choice of bedroom, the praise at the dinner table. I was the quiet one, the responsible one, the one who was told to keep the peace. I close my eyes. I know this script. I've been living it. Your mother didn't invent this, Tiffany. She inherited it. She was the favorite, and she learned that families work by picking one child to protect and one to sacrifice. When she had daughters of her own, she did what she knew. Why didn't you say something sooner? I tried. 15 years ago, your mother cut me off for 5 years, called me jealous, told your father I was trying to cause problems. We only reconnected because I stopped pushing. Ruth's voice drops. The difference between me and you is that I waited too long. I let 30 years pass before I stood in front of a mirror and said, this wasn't my fault. Don't make that mistake, Tiffany. I'm quiet for a long time. Then she says one more thing. If you're going to that party, don't go alone, and don't go empty-handed. I didn't understand what she meant. Not yet. The invitation arrives by mail. Cream-colored cardstock, gold foil lettering. The kind of stationery that costs more per sheet than some people spend on lunch. You are warmly invited to celebrate 40 years of love, Gary and Linda Hale. My name and Marcus's are written on the inner envelope in Jocelyn's handwriting. I recognize the looping J she always uses for capital letters, the way she dots her I's with little circles instead of points. Tucked inside is a note from my mother, written on her personal stationery, the lavender set she's used since I was in high school. We want the whole family there. This is bigger than any argument. Love, Mom. I read it standing at the kitchen counter. Marcus reads it over my shoulder. They didn't invite you back into the family, he says. They invited you into the photo. He's right. 63 guests, friends from church, neighbors from the cul-de-sac, extended family from both sides. If I'm not there, people will ask questions, and questions are the one thing my mother can't control. I turn the invitation over. On the back, in small print, event coordinator, Jocelyn Hale. Marcus catches it too. She's coordinating a 60-person party. She can't coordinate a grocery list. It's not a joke. It's the truth. Every group project, every family gathering, every shared responsibility, Jocelyn commits big and delivers small. The follow-through has always fallen to someone else. I set the invitation on the fridge with a magnet, not because I've decided to go, because I want to look at it every morning and ask myself the same question. What am I walking into, and why? 2 weeks until the party. The clock is ticking for everyone, especially Jocelyn. Ruth keeps me updated. Not out of gossip. She's been invited to the party, too, and she watches the way a nurse watches a patient whose vitals are shifting. Jocelyn's in over her head. Ruth tells me on a Tuesday evening phone call. She booked a caterer, then found out she went $1,500 over budget. Your mother approved the overage without blinking. Your father asked where the money was coming from. First real argument they've had in months. I can picture it. Dad standing in the kitchen, reading glasses pushed up on his forehead, holding a catering invoice like it's a plumbing estimate gone wrong. She also called your cousin Megan to help with decorations, Ruth continues. Megan said no. Apparently, Jocelyn promised to help with Megan's baby shower last spring and backed out the day before. What about the slideshow? She asked your mother to pick the photos. Linda spent 2 days going through albums. I don't say anything for a long moment. Ruth fills the silence. She's drowning, Tiff. She's been swimming in the shallow and her whole life, and now she's in the deep water. I think about that image, the shallow end. Every time Jocelyn struggled, even a little, someone lifted her out before she could learn to float. And now the water's at her chin, and she's looking for the next hand to grab. For the first time in my life, I don't feel the pull to be that hand. How are you doing, honey? Ruth asks, her nurse voice checking vitals.
I'm okay.
I'm thinking. Good. That's good. For the first time, the spotlight Jocelyn always craved was burning her. And no one was stepping in to adjust the lights. The calls start on a Wednesday, not from my parents, from the outer ring. Aunt Helen, my mother's older sister, calls first. Helen lives in Roanoke and visits twice a year, Christmas and someone's crisis. Tiffany, honey, your mother is heartbroken. Can't you just come to the party and be the bigger person? I've heard that phrase my entire life. Be the bigger person. It's family code for absorb the damage, so the rest of us don't have to look at it. Aunt Helen, did Mom tell you what she said to me?
Pause.
She said you two had a disagreement. She told me to pack my things and leave her house, because Jocelyn said looking at me makes her sick. Longer pause. Well, I'm sure there's more to the story. Ask Mom what happened that night, then call me back. Helen doesn't call back. 2 days later, my cousin Derek texts. Derek is my father's nephew, 2 years older than me, an accountant in Richmond. We're not close, but we exchange Christmas cards. Family is family, Tiff. Don't let pride ruin this. I type 3 different replies, delete each one. Finally, I send nothing. Derek doesn't know the story. He knows Linda's version of the story. Whatever version makes a missing daughter sound like a choice instead of a consequence. By Friday, 2 more relatives have reached out. Same script. Nobody asks what happened. Nobody asks if I'm okay. They all ask the same thing. Can you come to the party so everything looks normal? Nobody called back because nobody wanted to know. They just wanted the performance to resume, the comfortable, familiar production where everyone plays their role and nobody examines the script. Saturday morning, Marcus takes his coffee to the study. I take mine to the kitchen table and open the spreadsheet. 37 rows now, 12 years of data, dates, events, who said what happened next. I'm not building a legal case. I don't need one. I'm doing something I should have done a long time ago. looking at my family the way I look at a project that's gone off the rails. In project management, when a deliverable keeps failing, you don't just fix the latest failure. You trace the pattern. You find the recurring variable. You map the dependency chain until you see where the system breaks every single time. The system breaks here. Jocelyn fails. Jocelyn cries. Mom reassigned blame to me. I absorb it. Jocelyn is shielded. Cycle resets. It repeats roughly twice a year, and has for over a decade. The data doesn't lie. The data never lies. I scroll through the family group chat, still on my phone, nothing deleted. The messages are ordinary on the surface. Birthday wishes, Thanksgiving logistics. But every few months, there's a cluster. Jocelyn's name in distress, my mother's name in defense, my name in silence. Marcus walks in, refills his mug, and looks over my shoulder. He reads for a long minute. This isn't a family, he says. This is a project with a broken scope. I close the laptop. Not because I'm done, because I know enough. I have the timeline. I have the pattern. But I still don't have a plan. I don't know what I'm going to do with this clarity, or whether it matters, or whether speaking up will change anything at all. Then Ruth calls again, and everything shifts. I want to pause here for a second. If you're still watching, it means this story is resonating, and I'm grateful for that. Right now, I'm staring at a spreadsheet that maps 12 years of a pattern I couldn't see while I was living inside it. If you've ever had that moment where you finally stepped back and saw the whole picture for the first time, tell me about it in the comments and hit that like button if you want to see what happens at that anniversary party. Ruth doesn't bother with small talk. She opens with, I'm coming to the party and I think you should come, too. I set down my pen. Why? Because your mother has been telling people you're having marriage problems. That's why you haven't been around. The kitchen goes quiet. Even the hum of the refrigerator seems to pull back. She told them I'm having marriage problems? She told Helen. Helen told cousin Patty.
Patty told me.
Your mother would rather 60 people think your marriage is failing than know she told her own daughter to leave. I gripped the edge of the counter. Not because I'm going to cry, because something in my chest has shifted from exhaustion to heat. A clean, focused heat like a welding arc. I've been kicked out. I've been ignored for 7 days. I've been recruited back as a prop for a family portrait. And now, while I'm not there to defend myself, my mother is rewriting the story, turning my absence into my failure instead of hers. She could push me out, I say, and my voice is steady. She could ignore me, but she does not get to rewrite my story. Ruth is quiet for a moment then. That's exactly what I needed to hear. We talk for another 20 minutes. Ruth tells me she's already spoken to 2 cousins, not to recruit allies, not to stir drama. She asked one simple question. Has Linda ever told you what actually happened between her and Tiffany? Nobody knew. Every single person Ruth asked had only heard my mother's version. The version where I was the difficult one, the one with the temper, the one who couldn't let things go. They deserve the truth, Tiff. All of them. That night, I sit across from Marcus at the kitchen table. The spreadsheet is closed. My phone is face down. The invitation is still on the fridge, held up by a magnet shaped like the state of Virginia. I'm going, I say. Marcus sets his fork down. He doesn't look surprised. He looks like a man who's been waiting for a verdict he already knew. Are you going for them or for you? For me. I put my hand on my stomach, still flat, still invisible, just like everything else about me in that family. And for the person I'm carrying, I refuse to pass this pattern down to another generation. Marcus nods. He doesn't try to talk me out of it. He doesn't try to plan it for me. He just says, what do you need? I need you there, and I need Ruth there, and I need to walk in knowing exactly what I'm going to say if the moment comes. If the moment comes, or when. I think about that. I won't force it. But if Jocelyn performs, if she stands up in front of 60 people and rewrites history one more time, I'm not sitting there and smiling. I call Ruth that evening. She picks up before the second ring. I'm coming to the party.
Good.
I'll be at the table near the door. You'll see me. I don't write a speech. I don't rehearse in front of a mirror. I've spent my whole career walking into rooms full of contractors, engineers, and city officials and laying out the facts under pressure. I know how to speak clearly when the room doesn't want to hear it. I just need the facts, and I've had those memorized since I was 12. 5 days before the party, Jocelyn calls.
Not a text this time.
A call. Her voice is different. The softness is gone. She sounds like someone reading from a checklist. Sharp, impatient, managing. Mom needs you there, Tiffany. You owe her that.
Oh.
That word lands heavier than she intended to. I'll be there, I say. Nothing else. Silence on the line. Then wait, you will? I said I'll be there.
Oh. A beat.
Okay.
Good.
That's good. She wasn't expecting that. Every script she's ever run ends with me pushing back, her escalating, and Mom stepping in to finish the job. I just skipped 3 acts, and she doesn't know what to do with the space. What time should we all handle my own arrival, Jocelyn? She hangs up. I can feel the confusion through the deadline. Meanwhile, Ruth has been doing her own quiet work. Not campaigning, not gossiping, just asking a single question to a handful of family members. Did Linda ever tell you what actually happened? Not one of them had the full story. Uncle Ray, my father's older brother, a retired postmaster with no tolerance for nonsense, told Ruth flat out. Linda said Tiffany was going through a rough patch. That's all we ever heard. A rough patch. That's what my mother called getting thrown out of her house at 10 o'clock on a Thursday night. Ruth didn't correct anyone. She didn't give them her version. She just planted the question and let it sit, like a seed in a crack in the sidewalk. Small enough to ignore, strong enough to grow. Jocelyn wanted me at that party. She just didn't want me there with my voice. Saturday, the morning of the party. I stand in front of the bathroom mirror at 7 a.m. My reflection looks the same as it has every other morning this month. Same jawline, same tired eyes, same faint crease between my brows that deepens when I'm working through a problem. But something behind the face is different. Settled. Like a building after the scaffolding comes down. I choose a charcoal blazer over a camel blouse.
Simple. Clean.
The kind of outfit I'd wear to a board presentation. Professional enough to command attention, understated enough to let the words do the work. Marcus is already dressed. Navy suit, no tie. He hands me a glass of water and studies my face. You sure you want to do this? I've been sure for 7 days. I just needed 7 days to understand why I'm sure. We drive the 35 minutes to Volantes in near silence. Not tense silence. The kind of quiet that happens when 2 people have already said everything that needs saying and are now just watching the road unfold. The parking lot is already half full when we arrive. I recognize cars. Uncle Ray's green pickup, Aunt Helen's silver sedan, Cousin Megan's minivan. 63 people coming to celebrate 40 years of a marriage held together by routine and avoidance. Ruth is inside already. I spot her through the window, seated near the door, a glass of water in front of her, watching the room the way a nurse watches a waiting room. She catches my eye through the glass. One nod. I take a breath. Marcus opens the restaurant door. My mother sees me first. Her face flickers. Relief, then something sharper, like recognition. Her smile comes fast, but her eyes go straight to my posture, my blazer, the way I walk in. She knows something is different. She just can't figure out what. Belani's private dining room is draped in ivory and gold. Round tables for 8. A head table at the front with a 40 years banner and a 2-tier cake that Jocelyn almost certainly didn't bake. The room smells like garlic, warm bread, and expensive candles. Jocelyn is working the room like a campaign manager, hugging aunts, refilling water glasses, pointing the caterer toward the appetizer table with an authority she hasn't earned. She's wearing a coral dress and heels that click on the hardwood every time she crosses the floor. She looks put together. She looks in charge. Then the slideshow starts. A laptop connected to a projector throws photos onto the far wall. My parents' wedding, their first apartment, Jocelyn as a baby, Jocelyn's first day of school, Jocelyn at her high school graduation, Jocelyn at the beach with Mom and Dad, Jocelyn blowing out birthday candles while our parents beam. I count the photos. 46 total. I appear in 3. One is a wide family shot where I'm standing at the edge. One is me at age 6, half hidden behind my father's leg. The third cuts off of my shoulder. 46 photos, 3 with me in frame. None where I'm the subject. A few of the older relatives notice. Uncle Ray glances at me from across the room. His brow furrows. Cousin Megan tilts her head at the screen, then looks at me, then back at the screen. I sip my water. I smile at anyone who catches my eye. I am calm, and I am present, and I am watching everything. My mother steps to the front of the room. She thanks Jocelyn for putting this whole beautiful evening together. She doesn't mention my name. I wasn't waiting for the right moment. I was letting the moment build itself. Dessert plates are cleared. Jocelyn stands. Someone hands her the microphone, a wireless handheld, the kind they use for karaoke nights at Belanti's. She smooths her dress, tucks a strand of hair behind her ear, smiles. I want to say a few words about the two most incredible people I know. The room settles. Phones go face down. 63 people give Jocelyn exactly what she's always wanted: undivided attention. Mom and Dad, 40 years, that's not just a number, that's a lifetime of choosing each other every single day. And I want to thank you for always believing in me, even when things were hard. Her voice cracks.
Practiced. Perfect.
Even when not everyone in this family made it easy. Her eyes flick to me just for a second, but enough for the people who are watching, and several are, to follow the glance. Uncle Ray shifts in his seat. Aunt Helen looks at her napkin. But family is about forgiveness, Jocelyn continues, and I'm so glad that my sister is here tonight because it shows that we can move past anything. She raises her glass. The room follows. My mother dabs at her eyes with a cloth napkin. My father lifts his glass without looking at me. To Mom and Dad, to 40 more years, and to family, messy, imperfect, beautiful family. The room clinks. Applause. Jocelyn sits down to hugs and shoulder squeezes, and my mother whispering something in her ear. I set my glass down untouched. She just rewrote the entire narrative in front of 63 witnesses. She made herself the gracious forgiver. She made me the one who needed forgiving, and every person in this room now carries her version of events. She sat down. Everyone smiled, and I stood up. I don't reach for the microphone. I don't need it. The room is small enough, and my voice has always carried when it needed to. I'd like to add to that toast, if that's all right. 63 faces turn. My mother's hand freezes on Jocelyn's shoulder. My father's glass stops halfway to his lips. Jocelyn said family is about forgiveness. I agree. I keep my voice level. Project room steady. The same tone I use when a contractor misses a deadline, and the room is full of who don't want to hear it. But forgiveness requires honesty. And there's been very little honesty in this family for a very long time. The clinking stops. The last murmur dies. 3 weeks ago, my mother told me to pack my bags and leave her house that night. No discussion, no questions, because Jocelyn told her that looking at my face makes her sick. A ripple moves through the room. Not sound. Movement. A cousin leaning forward, an uncle setting down his fork, Aunt Helen's hand going to her mouth. Nobody in this room was told that. Some of you were told I was having marriage problems. That's not true. My marriage is fine. I was removed from my parents' home because it was easier to remove me than to hold my sister accountable for $4,200 she charged to our parents' credit card on personal items she called business expenses. Jocelyn's face drains of color. My mother starts to stand. Tiffany, this is not the place. You chose the place, Mom. My voice doesn't rise. It doesn't need to. You chose a party with 60 people over a single honest conversation with your daughter. The room is silent. Not uncomfortable silent. Listening silent. I'm not here to ruin their anniversary. I'm here to tell the truth in a room that's only ever heard one version. I don't raise my voice. I don't point. I keep both hands at my sides, and I speak the way I speak in a project review. Calm, specific, dated. When I was 12, I was moved to the basement so Jocelyn could have her own room. When I was 22, my parents left my college graduation early because Jocelyn had a headache. When I was 28, I called my mother to share a promotion I'd worked 6 years for. She told me Jocelyn's boss had yelled at her and asked if she could call me back. She never did. I pause. Let the room absorb it. Every time Jocelyn struggled, I was blamed. Every time I succeeded, it was minimized. And every time I tried to talk about it, I was told I was too sensitive.
Then Ruth stands.
She doesn't rush it. She rises the way she does everything, measured, deliberate, her nurse's calm filling the space. She's telling the truth. Ruth's voice is steady. I watched the same thing happen to me in this family 30 years ago. Our mother did it to Linda and me, and now Linda has done it to Tiffany and Jocelyn. The room turns to my mother. Linda's face is white. Her mouth opens, then closes. Her hand grips the edge of the table. My father stares at his plate. His jaw is tight. Uncle Ray speaks from the second table. His voice is low, direct, a retired postmaster who spent 40 years dealing in fax and zip codes. Is that true, Linda? You kicked her out? My mother doesn't answer. She looks at Jocelyn. Jocelyn looks at the floor. 63 people. One question, no answer. I didn't come here for revenge. I came here because 60 people in this room deserve to know who they were toasting. Jocelyn stands. Her chair scrapes the floor, the same sound it made 3 weeks ago at that dining table when she pushed back and ran to Mom's bedroom. But this time, there's nowhere to run. The room is full. The door is 30 feet away, and every face she turns to is waiting, not rescuing. You're lying. Her voice shakes. Not the practiced tremble, the real kind, the kind that comes when the ground you've been standing on turns out to be someone else's floor. You're always lying about me. Nobody nods. Nobody rushes in. Nobody says, let's all calm down. The room holds still. My mother tries. This is a family matter. We don't need to. Uncle Ray cuts in. His voice carries the way only a man who's spent decades behind a service counter can manage. Then why are 60 people here, Linda? Jocelyn's eyes sweep the room one more time. She's looking for the lifeline, the sympathetic face, the outstretched hand, the person who will say, "It's okay, honey," and fold her back into safety. She doesn't find it. She picks up her clutch from the table, walks toward the door. Her heels click on the hardwood, slower now, unsteady. She doesn't look back. My mother follows. The door swings shut behind them. I stay standing for another 3 seconds. Then I sit down. Marcus puts his hand on my knee under the table. Not a squeeze, just presence. My father is still in his chair. He hasn't moved. He hasn't followed my mother out. For 34 years, Gary Hale's instinct in every family crisis was to follow Linda's lead, close the door, and wait for the noise to stop. He stayed. And for the first time in 34 years, that meant something. Ruth finds them in the parking lot. I know because she tells me later on the phone that night after Marcus and I have driven home in the kind of silence that feels like decompression after a deep dive. Linda was standing next to the catering van, gripping Jocelyn by the arm, not gently, the way you grab someone you're terrified of losing control over. Look what you did.
My mother was saying.
Look what your drama caused. I told you to invite her, and keep it simple. I told you to manage it. Jocelyn pulled her arm free.
Me?
She's the one who stood up and... You told me she makes you sick. You gave her the ammunition. Ruth said she watched this for 10 seconds before stepping forward. She'd spent 30 years avoiding this conversation. Tonight, she wasn't leaving without having it. Linda. Ruth's voice cut through both of theirs. You're doing it again. My mother spun.
Stay out of this, Ruth.
I stayed out of it for 30 years. That was my mistake. Ruth looked at Jocelyn, spoke directly to her, not past her. Your mother was the golden child in our family. I was the invisible one. Our mother chose Linda every single time. And now Linda has done to Tiffany exactly what was done to me. Jocelyn stood very still. She doesn't protect you because she loves you more, Ruth said. She protects you because she needs you to need her. The moment you stop needing her, she has nothing. My mother didn't speak. Ruth told me her hands were trembling, not from anger, from recognition. The kind that hits when someone holds up a mirror you've spent a lifetime avoiding. Jocelyn looked at her mother. Then she walked to her car alone. Back inside. The room has thinned. Some guests left quietly during the commotion. Others linger, unsure whether to stay or go. The cake sits untouched. The slideshow has been turned off. Someone pulled the plug. maybe out of mercy. I'm at a table near the window, finishing a glass of water, when my father sits down across from me. No preamble, no how about that weather warm-up. He just pulls out the chair and drops into it like a man who's been standing too long. We sit in silence for a full minute. I let him have it. He needs the runway.
I knew, he says.
His voice is low, not a whisper, just the volume of a man who's not used to saying things that matter. I always knew it wasn't fair. Then why, Dad? He rubs the bridge of his nose with his thumb and forefinger. The gesture is so familiar it almost makes me lose my composure. He did the same thing the night I moved to the basement, the night of my graduation. Every night, he chose silence over confrontation. Because fighting your mother was harder than watching you hurt, and I chose the easier path every time. His eyes are wet, not streaming, just full. The kind of tears a man who grew up in a generation of men don't cry allows himself when the scaffolding finally comes down. I'm not asking you to forgive me, he says. I'm telling you I failed, and I'm telling you now because I should have told you when you were 12. I look at him for a long time, my father, the man who almost knocked. I hear you, Dad, but hearing it doesn't undo it.
He nods. He doesn't argue.
And just that is a start. I love you, Dad, but I can't rebuild on a foundation you chose to crack. The week after the party, my phone buzzes more than it has in years. But for the first time, the calls aren't asking me to perform. They're asking me to talk. Cousin Megan texts first. I saw the slideshow. 3 photos, Tiff. 3. I'm so sorry I never said anything. Uncle Ray calls on Monday. I've known your mother a long time. I always thought something was off. I should have pushed harder. 2 of my father's old fishing buddies, men who'd been at that party, reach out to Marcus. They don't say much, just, your wife's got guts. We respect that. And then Aunt Helen calls, the same Helen who told me to be the bigger person. Her voice is different now, smaller. Asked your mom what happened that night. She didn't deny it, Tiffany. She just stopped talking. I'm sorry I told you to let it go. I didn't know. For people in 1 week. For people who saw the same family I grew up in and chose not to look too closely. Now they're looking. It doesn't fix anything, but it matters. Jocelyn doesn't call. My mother doesn't call. Then 9 days after the party, an email arrives from Jocelyn. 2 lines. I don't know who I am without this family protecting me. I hate you for making me see that. I read it 3 times. I don't reply, but I recognize something in those 2 sentences that I've never heard from Jocelyn before.
The truth.
Ugly, raw, unperformed truth. She's not playing a role. She's standing in the wreckage of the only strategy she's ever known, and for the first time, she has no script. It isn't an apology, but it's the most honest thing my sister has ever said to me. I write the email on a Sunday morning. Marcus is mowing the lawn. The house smells like the lavender candle I lit on the kitchen windowsill. My laptop is open. My hands are steady. I address it to both my parents. Not a text, not a phone call, an email because I want a record, and because some things need to be said in full sentences, not fragments squeezed between interruptions. Mom, Dad, I love you. And because I love you, I need to be honest about what I need going forward. I lay out 3 conditions. Not ultimatums, conditions. First, I will not be in the same room as Jocelyn until she acknowledges, directly to me, what she said and what it caused. Not, let's move on. Not, I'm sorry you felt that way. A real acknowledgement. Second, neither of them discusses me with extended family unless I'm present in the conversation. No more rewriting. No more narrating my life in my absence. Third, any visit, any call, any interaction respects these boundaries. If they're crossed, I'll leave.
No argument.
No second warning. This isn't punishment, I write. This is protection. For me, for Marcus, and for the child I'm carrying. I let that sentence sit on the screen for a long time before I hit send. The pregnancy. 12 weeks now. They're finding out through an email about boundaries, which isn't how I imagined it. But the truth is, this is the only version of the announcement that's honest. I'm not sharing this news to manipulate or guilt. I'm sharing it because the stakes are real, and they need to understand exactly what's at risk if nothing changes. I press send, close the laptop, walk outside. Marcus kills the mower when he sees me.
Scent, he asks.
Scent. 3 months later, the nursery is pale green, a color Marcus picked after reading an article about calming environments for newborns. The crib is assembled. The mobile hangs from the ceiling, little wooden birds that turn slowly in the draft from the window. My belly is showing now, 16 weeks. The morning sickness has faded into something gentler, a low hum of awareness that everything is shifting, inside and out. Ruth comes by on Saturdays. She brings casseroles and unsolicited advice about infant sleep schedules, and I love every second of it. She sits at our kitchen table and tells stories about when she was a young nurse, the baby she delivered, the families she watched form and reform, the ones that made it and the ones that didn't. She's the family I should have had access to all along. My mother kept that distance for years. Now the distance is mine to close, and I'm closing it. My father calls on Wednesdays. Not long calls, 5 minutes, maybe 10. He asks about the baby. He asks about Marcus. He asks how I'm feeling. He doesn't mention my mother, and I don't ask. We're building something small and careful, like a man repairing a joint, one fitting at a time. My mother sent a card, pale yellow envelope. No return address, but I'd know her handwriting anywhere. Inside, a generic congratulations card from the grocery store. Below the printed message, in her careful teacher's script, I'm trying. 2 words, not enough, not nearly enough, but more than I expected. Jocelyn, nothing. Silence. And I have learned enough about silence to know there are different kinds. Some silence is punishment, some is processing. I choose to believe hers is the second kind. I don't need them to be perfect. I need them to be honest. And honest is a slow road. I'm standing in the nursery.
The paint is dry.
The crib is ready. The window is cracked open, and a May breeze pushes through the screen, turning those little wooden birds in slow circles above the mattress. Marcus comes up behind me. His hand rests on my shoulder. Warm, solid, the weight of someone who's been standing next to me, not in front of me, through all of it. This room has no history, I say. No patterns, no rules, just space. He doesn't say anything.
He doesn't need to.
I look at the closet. Inside, folded on the top shelf, is the gray duffel bag. The one I packed in 4 minutes on a Thursday night. The one that weighed 11 pounds. I washed it, folded it, put it away. I didn't throw it out. It's part of the record. But I don't need it anymore. There was a girl who moved to the basement at 12 and didn't complain. A woman who graduated with honors and didn't get seen. A daughter who called home with good news and got silence in return. She kept showing up. She kept earning. She kept believing that if she just did enough, they would finally look at her. She was enough all along. She just needed 7 days of silence to finally hear it. I picked up one bag and left without a word. But the woman who walked out that door is not the woman standing in this room. This room is for someone new. Someone who will never have to earn a place in her own family. Someone who will be seen, not because she performs, but because she exists. Endurance is not a family value.
Transparency is.
And this is where the new pattern starts.